Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I'm going to read a message here. Actually, I'm not going to read the message. I'm just going to kind of go over it. I normally do a message for each weekly parashah, and over the years I've accumulated quite a few, so I'm just going to kind of paraphrase some of them, go over them for people who are interested in some of the concepts. It seems like there's not a lot of stuff on the actual parashah, so it's kind of nice to have a video kind of going over it. So what I'll do is the first part, I'll just summarize what happened in this week's parashah, and then I'll kind of give a little bit of my thoughts on what I wrote for that year's message. Anyway, this is for parashah Shemini. It's the third parashah of the book of Vayikra, and Shemini means eighth. Basically what's going on is you're getting the 8th day, which is where they're going to do the final offerings for the presence of YHWH to dwell among his people. That's how it starts off, and then you have the story of Nadav and Avihu, who offered up strange fire and incense and got consumed with fire by YHWH. And then you have the sin offering, and looking for the sin offering, and the little back and forth between Moshe and Aharon about why he didn't eat from the sin offering. Then you get the clean and unclean animal laws, and it finishes off with the Haftorah, which is David learning to fear YHWH and yet serve him without hesitation. So my message for 2007 is called Holy Inside and Outside, and just to kind of go over some of the concepts of what it's about. It basically is about the relationship of and the pattern that we see with YHWH and the priests in this relationship of the greater and the kind of the lesser or the servant, and we see this model of his house. So we have him in his house, and then the servant are the priests, and they kind of come and serve him. And then the high priest, the greatest servant, in some ways I think kind of models the wife, also the wife and the children as Aharon the high priest, and the other priest as like his son. So we see this pattern that kind of forms. And one of the primary things that we see in there is this concept of holiness, that you have to be like kind. So if YHWH is going to dwell in the tabernacle, which is the whole goal of this parashah, this 8th day concept, is that he comes and dwells among his people, then it starts off with the holiness of the people. So we have offerings that have to be offered up, the instructions on how exactly they have to be offered. You have the offerings for the priest, you have the offerings for the people, so that they can be, you have a sin offering here, which is a central theme here, so that the people can be cleansed and holy for YHWH to dwell among them. So all these things have to happen before the glory of YHWH comes and dwells. So we see this pattern that I think is covered with, like when Mashiach says that you'll know a tree by its fruit. And that equation goes both ways. It means you can look at the fruit and know the tree. You can look at the tree and know what kind of fruit. They're connected. It's this concept of one, echad. And we see this with Mashiach when he says that I and the Father are one, or echad. And then he tells his disciples, he said, I would that you were one with me as I am one with the Father. So looking for that same kind of echad. It's the same unity that we see being talked of like a husband and wife. It says the two become one. But one of the interesting things that a lot of people don't pick up on is that when he says that I and the Father are one, we get another relationship, which is then a father and a son that are also one. So it's not just the wife, the husband and wife that come together that are one, but actually when the two come together that are one, the fruit of that oneness, the blend of the father and the mother, is the son. The son is the proof of the echad, or the oneness of the mother and the father. So the whole household is one, is echad. The father and the wife is one with her husband. The son is one with the the mother and father who are also one. It's all one. And this is the concept that we see. So the concept of holy inside and outside is just the direction that goes. That it starts off that YHWH is obviously truth. He's holy. He says, "Be holy as I am holy." Then the priests have these laws and these statutes that they have to do in order to be holy, so that YHWH will dwell among them. So that gives them that connection, that unity with YHWH. And it starts with they have to be holy like He is holy, because His holy presence is going to come. And just like the fire that burns up Nadav and Avihu, things that are impure are consumed. And just like the burning bush, it's this tree or bush that is burned, but it's not consumed. So this, to me, is a concept of holiness. It means that the tests come, fire is a model of testing, and yet it's not diminished, it's not consumed by the testing, and it's pure and holy. So we get this concept with Aharon and his 4 sons, that 2 of them weren't acceptable, weren't holy. They offered a strange fire to YHWH, and 2 of them were. And so he says, when Moshe asked him, "Why didn't you eat the sin offering?" He says, "Well, if this stuff happened, and I ate it, would it have been accepted?" Because again, the tree and the fruit are connected. So actually, half of his fruit was not good on that day. Would that have been accepted? And this goes into the concept of holiness. The same pattern of being connected says that if YHWH is holy, the priests need to be holy for YHWH to dwell. If Aharon is supposed to cleanse the people from their sins, he has to be cleansed of his sins. He has to be clean. We saw this in last week's Parashat, that the person who takes care of the peace offering, if they were unclean and they partook in the peace offering, they'd be cut off from their people. So you have this pattern that continues, that the connection between the inside and the outside has to be holy. And Mashiach says this, he says the same thing. If the inside is clean, then the outside will be clean. These 2 things, they have to be connected, and they have to be cleansed together to really be one. And so we see this thing, and we see this same pattern in the eating laws, the clean and unclean animals. If what you take into you is unclean, then that's the inside then becomes unclean, and it flows to the outside, and the person is unclean. If what you take in is clean, then what comes out of you is clean. And this is the same concept. So the concept is that there needs to be a healthy fear of YHWH, and that just in the same way that the sons need to be like their father, the wife needs to be like her husband, one with them, then the whole household is clean and holy. They're unified together. So that's the concept of holy inside and out. And we have to do it with fear and with gladness and with much study. Shalom.